am a scientist, not a philosopher. You have more chance of reanimating this scalpel than you have of mending a broken nervous system.
You think you've seen every funny moment from Young Frankenstein? But this photo will make you question what's real. At first glance, it looks like just another behind-the-scenes shot. But look closer. The uncontrollable laughter, the wild expressions, the chaos frozen in a single frame, it's 100% real. No edits, no retakes, no filters. This one picture captures the raw, unscripted madness that made the movie a comedy masterpiece. Can you spot what triggered this unforgettable moment? Let's find out. The chaos behind a comedy classic. Young Frankenstein is loved around the world because it feels natural, loose, playful, and full of surprise. Many people think the magic came from the script alone, but the truth is far more interesting. The film was built on a mix of talent, timing, and dozens of small accidents that kept happening throughout the production. Instead of fixing these mistakes, Mel Brooks often allowed them to stay. And that choice turned a simple parody into one of the greatest comedy films ever made. The movie was released in the year 1974. It was written by Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks, and it followed the story of Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, the grandson of the famous scientist Victor Frankenstein. Gene Wilder wanted the movie to feel exactly like the horror films from the 1930s. Because of this goal, the team worked hard to capture the same look, the same shadows, and even the same laboratory equipment. Mel Brooks made an unusual decision at that time. He insisted on filming the entire movie in black and white. Most studios avoided black and white by the 70s, but Brooks refused to change his mind. He believed the movie would only work if it looked like the old monster classics. He even found original lab equipment that had been used in the 1931 Frankenstein film, and he placed it inside the new set. This gave the movie the same eerie look that older audiences remembered. Even though everything looked serious and artistic, the set was never quiet or tense. It was filled with laughter, noise, and constant surprises. Gene Wilder, Marty Feldman, Terry Garr, Peter Boyle, and Madeline Kahn were all very skilled performers, but none of them were strict or cold. They enjoyed experimenting with lines, voices, and funny expressions. Because of this, scenes often turned into something very different from what had been written. The very first big example came during the famous bag scene. In the script, Dr. Frederick Frankenstein arrives at the castle with Inga and Igor. He politely asks Igor to help carry the luggage. It was supposed to be a normal moment, but Marty Feldman had a very playful mind. Without telling anyone, he looked at Wilder with a mischievous grin and suddenly said a strange line. "You take the blonde and I will take the one in the turban."
You take the blonde and I'll take the one in the turban.
No one expected that. Terry Garr almost burst into laughter right away. Gene Wilder fought hard to keep his face calm, but his smile kept shaking at the corners. Even the crew members behind the camera were struggling not to laugh. Mel Brooks asked for another take. Marty Feldman said the same line again, but this time he changed his tone slightly. The cast tried again. Feldman repeated it once more, with another small twist. Take after take, he kept sneaking the line into the scene. His timing was perfect. He was clearly having fun, and everyone else was trying very hard not to break down laughing. Instead of getting annoyed, Mel Brooks loved it. He finally gave up on trying to remove the joke. He kept the blooper inside the final cut because he believed that real comedy lives inside real surprise, and that moment had exactly that spark. This scene became one of the most quoted moments in the entire film. It began as a mistake, but it became a symbol of what made the movie special. The actors were not simply reading lines. They were creating living comedy with each other, using the little unexpected moments that happened between them. Young Frankenstein became a huge success. The movie cost only a few $1 million to make, but it earned more than $86 million around the world. Even more important, it taught filmmakers that laughter often appears when everything feels loose and free. When the set becomes a place where mistakes can turn into magic, the comedy becomes more natural and more unforgettable. But if one playful line could start such a wave of laughter, wait until you see what happened when a single private joke from Marty Feldman grew into one of the most famous running gags in all of comedy history. Igor's moving hump and the birth of accidental gags. Igor is one of the most unforgettable characters in Young Frankenstein. His large eyes, quick movements, and strange smile made every scene brighter and funnier. But the funniest part of Igor was never written in the script at all. It came from Marty Feldman himself, who enjoyed creating small surprises that no one else saw coming. One of these surprises turned into a legendary running joke that fans still talk about today. This joke began with Igor's hump. In the early days of filming, Marty Feldman noticed that the prosthetic hump on his back was easy to move. Instead of keeping it in the same place like the script expected, he quietly shifted it to the opposite shoulder when no one was watching. He did this without permission and without telling any crew members. At first, no one noticed the change. The hump simply appeared on one shoulder in one shot, and then it suddenly appeared on the other shoulder in another shot. The cast and crew were so busy trying to keep up with the fast pace of filming that they did not catch this tiny detail. Even Mel Brooks missed it for a while. The only person who noticed early on was Gene Wilder. He caught a glimpse of the hump moving from one part of Igor's back to the other, and he froze for a moment. His eyes widened slightly. He looked at Feldman as if asking a silent question, but Feldman acted completely innocent. The two continued the scene, but Wilder struggled to keep a straight face. Eventually, the script reached the moment when Dr. Frederick Frankenstein first meets Igor. Wilder could not control his curiosity anymore. He looked at Feldman and said a line that is now famous. "Did you not used to have that on the other side?" Without missing a beat, Feldman replied with a calm voice, "What hump?" The entire crew burst out laughing. It was too perfect. The moment was not planned. It was a natural answer from Feldman, and it fit Igor's strange personality like a glove. Mel Brooks loved the exchange so much that he kept it in the film exactly as it was. He also encouraged Feldman to continue playing with the hump joke throughout the movie. Feldman took this encouragement very seriously. Every time he had a chance, he shifted the hump again. Sometimes he moved it slightly, sometimes he moved it completely. Each time he did it, he kept a straight face, as if nothing at all had changed. The joke became even funnier because Igor never explains it. He never reacts to it. He never acknowledges that the hump switches sides. It simply moves as if it is alive. This strange detail fits perfectly with the tone of Young Frankenstein. The movie is a parody of old horror films, so the shifting hump feels like a direct wink to the audience. It reminds viewers that the story is silly on purpose, and that the characters live inside a world where anything can happen. The hump joke also shows the kind of freedom that existed on this set. Mel Brooks trusted the actors to find their own comedic rhythm. He did not shut down improvisation. Instead, he welcomed it. When something funny appeared naturally, he allowed it to grow. Because of this freedom, the film feels warm and spontaneous. Viewers can sense the joy behind the performances. They can feel the energy of actors who are not just working, but also playing. The hump prank also encouraged more improvisation from other actors. Terry Garr took more risks with her expressions. Peter Boyle experimented with his groans and gestures. Madeline Kahn added dramatic touches that grew out of her own imagination. The spirit of playful surprise spread through the entire cast. And the moving hump was only the beginning. The more the actors played with the material, the more unusual moments appeared. Props vanished. Scenes shifted in unexpected ways. Continuity fell apart in funny little places. But no accident gained as much attention as the candlestick mystery that soon followed. Because right after the hump joke came another strange moment, and this time it involved an object that simply disappeared from the screen without any warning at all. Uncontrollable laughter, broken characters, and improvised madness. The set of the movie was a place where control often slipped through the cracks, replaced by bursts of uncontrollable laughter. One of the earliest examples happened during the sedative scene. Igor, played by Marty Feldman, mispronounced a line in such a strange and unexpected way that Gene Wilder, who was supposed to be straight-faced and serious, could barely hold it together. Wilder's eyes would widen, his body would tense, and then the laughter would escape in a sudden, genuine outburst. Feldman would try to continue, but the energy of the moment was infectious, and soon, the entire crew was fighting to contain their giggles. These moments were not just funny for the audience, but created an atmosphere on set that made every take unpredictable and alive. One scene that tested everyone's patience and their ability to keep a straight face was the musical number Putting on the Ritz. Peter Boyle, portraying the monster, had to perform complex choreography, a task that was difficult for anyone, let alone someone dressed in a heavy, restrictive costume. Each take required precise timing, but the slightest mistake could throw everything off. The crew watched as Boyle struggled with the sequence, tripping over props, missing steps, and then suddenly nailing a line that sent everyone, including Brooks, into laughter. Wilder's attempts to react appropriately while holding character only made the scene funnier. These challenges turned what could have been rigidly rehearsed scenes into living, breathing moments of comedy that often outshone the original plan. Marty Feldman also caused chaos with one famously memorable incident involving Madeline Kahn. While she was dressed as Inga and wearing a luxurious fur wrap, Feldman attempted to take a bite, accidentally getting bits of fur in his mouth. His exaggerated reactions to this situation, along with Kahn's own inability to keep a straight face, spiraled into one of the most chaotic and hilariously improvised sequences on set. Every attempt to film the scene cleanly ended with laughter so intense that the cameras often captured moments that were completely unscripted. Terry Garr's contributions to the film's laughter were just as spontaneous. During a hay wagon scene, she slipped at just the right moment, her body and timing creating a perfect physical joke that enhanced her character's charm and vulnerability. Instead of reshooting or editing the slip out, Brooks embraced it, understanding that the authenticity of the reaction was far more powerful than a flawless performance. Garr's slip became a tool for character development and comic timing, blending accident and intent seamlessly. Brooks himself was a master of turning mistakes into gold. He often chose to keep takes where the actors laughed naturally, believing that genuine reactions created energy and joy that audiences could feel. The chaos, the unpredictability, and the improvised madness were not weaknesses but rather the secret ingredients that made the film magical. Each blooper, slip, or mispronunciation was a reminder that comedy thrives in imperfection and spontaneity. The actors fed off each other's energy, and the boundaries between scripted performance and genuine reaction often blurred. Just when you think the actors are the only source of chaos, the set itself joins the party, refusing to behave. When the set became a comedian. On the set of this movie, the chaos extended far beyond the actors' improvisations. The physical environment itself seemed determined to join in the comedy, creating moments that no script could predict. One of the most persistent problems involved a massive wooden door. Every time Gene Wilder needed to close it, the door would jam or stick. Instead of letting frustration take over, Wilder turned his irritation into performance, exaggerating his gestures and facial expressions to make the scene even funnier. What might have been a frustrating technical difficulty became a memorable comedic beat, a moment where the audience could feel the actors struggle while laughing at the absurdity of it. The door, in its stubbornness, became as much a character in the film as anyone on screen. During a "Follow Me, Please" scene, Marty Feldman added a small, unscripted gesture that would have been easily overlooked in a more controlled production. He performed a formal bow and threw in a witty, improvised line. Gene Wilder nearly broke character, his eyes widening in disbelief at Feldman's sudden addition. But he managed to recover seamlessly, responding with a perfectly timed reaction that made the scene even funnier. These tiny improvisations, seemingly insignificant in isolation, created a domino effect of laughter and energy on set. Every actor learned to anticipate the unexpected, to react spontaneously, and to trust that the chaos could elevate the comedy. Another example of the set's personality came in the form of the famous Frau Blücher gag. Every time the character's name was spoken, the crew played off-screen horse whinnies. This joke, which might have been just a scripted cue, took on a life of its own as production continued. The whinnies became a running gag that every actor responded to in real time, reacting to the sound as if it were a real intrusion. The humor worked because it was unpredictable, and because the cast had to improvise around it. Even the origin of the joke added a layer of absurdity. The name Blücher had been misunderstood in lore as the German word Kleber, meaning glue. Brooks took this linguistic misinterpretation and turned it into a recurring, hysterically funny sound effect that fit perfectly into the world of the movie. Props and set pieces also contributed to the chaos. The crew would frequently have objects behave unexpectedly, forcing the actors to adjust their timing, gestures, or dialogue on the fly. A small misalignment or a stubborn prop became an opportunity to showcase quick thinking and improvisation. This atmosphere of unpredictability encouraged actors to experiment and allowed the film to capture moments of humor that could never have been scripted. Every scene was a delicate balance of careful planning and embracing the unpredictable. Brooks had a unique philosophy about all this. He believed that authentic reactions, whether from the actors or from the set itself, were more valuable than polished but sterile performances. By keeping takes where actors reacted genuinely to mishaps, whether they involved props, doors, or sound effects, he allowed the film to retain a sense of organic humor. The unpredictable energy made the comedy feel alive. It was not merely about jokes written on a page, but about capturing real reactions, real moments of surprise, and real laughter. The set had a way of testing the actors, pushing them to their limits, and inspiring some of the funniest performances in the film. Every malfunction, squeaky hinge, or falling object became a chance to elevate a scene. The combination of human creativity and environmental chaos blurred the lines between rehearsed performance and spontaneous comedy. The audience could feel the energy, sense the unpredictability, and laugh at the authenticity of it all. But even the craziest sound effects, stubborn doors, and playful horse whinnies could not outshine the unexpected disasters that would erupt when the lab equipment and wigs went completely off script, setting the stage for an even wilder chapter. Scientific chaos. The chaos on set reached new levels when the scenes moved into the laboratory. The props, gadgets, and equipment Brooks used were not modern replicas, but actual relics, some from the original 1931 Frankenstein production. These antique pieces added authenticity to the set, but they were also fragile and unpredictable. Every experiment, every lever pulled, and every switch flipped had the potential to misfire in unexpected ways. For the actors, this meant that they had to stay alert and adapt instantly to whatever happened, often turning what could have been disasters into moments of spontaneous comedy. One particularly memorable incident involved Peter Boyle, dressed as the monster, during the operating table scene. The heavy stage lights created intense heat, and Boyle's wig began to slip. Mid-shot, everyone noticed the wig sliding down his forehead, threatening to ruin the scene. Instead of calling for a reshoot, the cast played along. Boyle continued as if nothing were wrong, and the other actors reacted naturally, their responses perfectly blending with the chaos. Brooks kept the take, knowing that the accidental wig mishap made the scene funnier and more authentic than any perfectly rehearsed version could have been. Marty Feldman also contributed to the improvised madness in ways that could not have been anticipated. In one scene, he howled like a wolf unexpectedly, turning a moment that was meant to be eerie and unsettling into absurd comedy. Each retake amplified the humor, as Feldman experimented with different pitches and timings, keeping both his co-actors and the crew in stitches. The unpredictable energy made the scenes feel alive, and audiences later sensed this genuine spontaneity in the final cut. Terry Garr added her own unpredictable layer of humor. In one laboratory moment, she asked, "How fast is the speed of light?" This line was not originally in the script, but Garr delivered it with perfect timing, creating a pause in the chaos that allowed Feldman to react in his signature chaotic way. In the background, props flew, tables rattled, and instruments clanged, making the scene look improvised, yet every action felt intentional. The collision of scripted science talk and unscripted chaos resulted in comedy that was both intelligent and silly, a blend Brooks delighted in capturing. The beauty of this chaos was that it never felt forced. Every mishap, from slipping wigs to spontaneous howls, was met with quick thinking and seamless improvisation. Actors responded to one another, creating a rhythm that was part rehearsal, part serendipity. Every shot became a miniature performance of its own, where the unexpected became the highlight. Brooks believed in preserving these moments. If something sparked genuine laughter or seemed particularly absurd, he kept it, understanding that the audience would feel the same joy. Every prop, every wig, every piece of fragile scientific equipment became a potential source of comedy. The unpredictability challenged the actors, encouraged creativity, and made the filming process itself an adventure. These laboratory scenes were a perfect example of how Brooks balanced meticulous planning with complete openness to accidents. The audience would later see only the polished final cut, but the behind-the-scenes story revealed a symphony of improvisation, timing, and courage under pressure. And just when the slipping wigs, flying props, and unexpected howls seemed like the peak of chaos, the dining table awaited. Here, cups vanished, legs got stuck, and what could have been ordinary mealtime became an unforgettable scene of comedic disaster. Stuck legs, vanishing cups, and dinner table disasters. If the laboratory had tested the cast's ability to improvise, the dining room scene pushed them to the very limits of physical comedy. It was a place where props, timing, and character reactions collided in ways that were completely unpredictable. The monster, played by Peter Boyle, had to stand up from the table at one point, and in doing so he knocked over various props. Wilder, quick on his feet, improvised his response, his eyes widening, his hands flailing just enough to make the moment hysterical. Each actor had to react instantly to what the others were doing, creating a chain of physical comedy that was both chaotic and perfectly timed. The scene became a highlight not because it was flawless, but because of its glorious imperfections. Continuity errors added another layer of unpredictability. A candlestick or candelabra might be lit in one shot, and then suddenly unlit in the next. A coffee cup could vanish between takes or switch hands unexpectedly. While these might have frustrated a traditional director, Brooks embraced them. He understood that the audience would feel the authenticity of these tiny mistakes, that the subtle imperfections made the world of the movie feel lived in and real. Actors learned to play with these surprises, responding in ways that added humor rather than taking it away. Every take became a small adventure where they never quite knew what would happen next. Terry Garr, as Inga, had her own share of surprises. Her wig slipped during one take, exposing her forehead in a way that could have ruined the scene. Instead, the crew and Garr adjusted on the fly. The moment was kept, and it added a layer of vulnerability to her character. Her slightly disheveled appearance made the comedy feel organic, as if real accidents were happening rather than carefully orchestrated jokes. This combination of physical comedy and character authenticity became a trademark of the film's style. Perhaps the most chaotic prop of all was Igor's fake leg. At one point, it became tangled or stuck in the set. Feldman tugged, and suddenly, the leg broke free, sending both him and his co-actors stumbling into the dirt or other props on set. These moments were unpredictable, messy, and sometimes dangerous. Yet Brooks understood that the humor was in the actors' reactions. Each fall, each stumble, each surprised expression heightened the comedy, creating a rhythm of chaos that felt fresh with every take. The beauty of the dining room scenes was how they combined multiple layers of mischief. Props went missing, wigs slipped, actors improvised, and the set itself seemed to conspire against the cast. Every accident was a potential joke, and every reaction became part of the performance. The unpredictability forced everyone to be present, attentive, and ready to adapt. The scene became a microcosm of the movie's larger energy, where rehearsed lines and spontaneous accidents existed side by side, enhancing the humor rather than diminishing it. Brooks's philosophy of embracing mistakes rather than erasing them was evident in every frame. He knew that the audience could sense authenticity, that laughter born from genuine reactions would resonate far more than a perfectly staged gag. The actor's skill was not just in delivering lines, but in navigating chaos gracefully, turning every potential disaster into comedy gold. The dining table became a stage for experimentation, improvisation, and unexpected brilliance. And just when it seemed that spilled drinks, tangled legs, and disappearing props had reached the peak of hilarity, the lab elevator awaited. Its malfunction would introduce real danger, genuine fear, and yet another unforgettable moment of comedy that blurred the line between accident and performance. The elevator accident and the photo that was never edited. The chaos of the set reached a dramatic, almost perilous level when the scenes moved to the lab elevator. This piece of the set had been designed for a controlled effect, but it had a mind of its own. During one take, the elevator wobbled unexpectedly, making the ride feel unstable and unsafe. Terry Garr, in character as Inga, let out a scream that was entirely real. Her fear was genuine, and it echoed through the set, sending a ripple of tension and laughter simultaneously. Everyone on set understood the danger, but Wilder and Feldman stayed deeply in character, reacting with heightened expressions and exaggerated movements. Their ability to remain immersed in the scene, even when confronted with real risk, transformed a potential accident into brilliant comedic material. The elevator's unpredictable motion forced quick thinking. Actors had to adjust their positions, balance, and timing instantly. Wilder's reactions were particularly memorable. His eyes would widen in shock, his hands would flail, and yet he never broke character. Feldman, meanwhile, used the chaos to amplify his comic energy, tossing props or reacting with over-the-top panic. Every movement was organic, unplanned, and hilarious. The energy on set was electric, a mix of tension, excitement, and pure joy. The moment captured something that rehearsed performances could never achieve: the authentic fear and surprise of real people dealing with unpredictable circumstances. During this chaotic scene, a photograph was taken that would become iconic. It showed Gene Wilder in a state of uncontrollable laughter, tears in his eyes, completely unposed and genuine. The photo was never edited or staged, yet it perfectly captured the spirit of the production. It symbolized the magic of the film, the way joy and chaos coexisted, and how the actors' genuine emotions fueled the comedy. The image became a representation of everything Brooks aimed to achieve: unscripted hilarity that felt natural and alive. The elevator incident also highlighted the trust between actors and director. Brooks encouraged improvisation, even when it involved real risk, because he knew that genuine reactions were irreplaceable. Wilder and Feldman understood this and played along, pushing the boundaries of physical comedy while maintaining character integrity. Their ability to balance danger, spontaneity, and humor turned the scene into something extraordinary. The elevator, which could have been a liability, became one of the most memorable sequences in the film, precisely because it was unpredictable and real. The success of the movie went beyond these individual moments. Its box office performance helped 20th Century Fox see the value in creative risk-taking. The film's combination of precise planning, improvisation, and chaos demonstrated that comedy thrives when actors, props, and sets interact in unpredictable ways. It became a blueprint for future productions, proving that authenticity and spontaneity could resonate with audiences just as much as carefully scripted humor. Even with the final cut complete, many moments from the set were never seen by audiences. Unseen outtakes, bloopers, and improvised gags captured the raw energy of production, but only hints of this joy made it into the movie. The elevator accident was a prime example. While the scene was preserved for its comedic brilliance, much of the behind-the-scenes hilarity, the unscripted reactions, and the sheer chaos of the actors navigating danger remain hidden treasures. That unedited laughter said so much about the spirit of the film, but what other unseen moments from the set never made it into the final cut? And how many more priceless outtakes are still hidden from fans, waiting to be discovered? What do you think about all the hilarious chaos behind the scenes? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your favorite moment.